You know that feeling, right? That weird mix of frustration and, I don't know, excitement? When you get so close to winning something and it just slips away. Well, today we're going to get into the psychology of the near miss and why the word almost might be one of the most powerful feelings we ever experience. Okay, to really get this, let's just paint a picture. Imagine you're in a casino. All the lights, the sounds, that buzz in the air. You pull the lever on a slot machine, and those reels start to fly. Just a total blur of symbols and possibilities. And then, click, 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 they stop. You see it. Cherry, cherry, and a lemon. Ugh. That one symbol, that tiny little gap between winning and losing, that's what we're talking about today. It's that moment where you could practically taste the victory. But nope, it's gone. What's so wild is that this almost win doesn't really feel like a loss. It's something else entirely. And for decades, psychologists have been obsessed with this exact moment, that space between what actually happened and what could have happened. Turns out it triggers a really unique and powerful mix of emotions. Yeah, see, it's not a clean loss, is it? Your brain doesn't just write it off. Instead, it totally fixates on how close you were, which makes the whole thing feel, well, super ambiguous and honestly, really frustrating. You're stuck in this kind of psychological limbo, and that's what makes it so potent. So what is actually happening in your brain when this goes down? Let's pop the hood and look at the actual science behind it. Because trust me, the reaction is probably not what you'd expect. All right, this is where things get crazy. Just look at this. When you get a real win, boom, your brain gets a flood of dopamine. That's the feel-good chemical, right? And you feel awesome, satisfied. But a near miss? It triggers the exact same dopamine flood. Your brain's reward centers light up in almost the same way. But here's the huge difference. With the near miss, you get all the chemical buzz, but none of the satisfaction. All that's left is this tension and this really powerful urge to just try it one more time. And this whole thing has a name, of course. It's called the near-miss effect. It's basically a biological trick. Your brain gives you all the exciting chemicals of a win without the emotional payoff, which just leaves you wanting to do it again to finally close that gap. Now, this is where it gets really, really interesting. This little quirk in our brains isn't just some random thing. Oh no, it is understood, it's studied, and in a lot of cases, it is deliberately built into the systems we use every single day, from casinos and video games to even our social media feeds. In so many things designed to keep us hooked, slot machines, loot boxes and games, you name it, the near miss isn't some kind of accident. As this quote says, it's not a bug, it's a feature. It's a core part of the design, put there specifically to set off that chemical reaction in your brain. So how does this actually work in practice? Well, in modern slot machines, the reels are literally programmed to land on a near miss way more often than pure chance would suggest. And that's totally on purpose. Every time it happens, it sends a little message to your brain. Ooh, you're getting close, you're figuring this out. Just one more spin. It creates this really powerful illusion that you're making progress. And that's exactly why these moments stick with us so much. I mean, think about it. A sports gambler is going to obsess way more over the one team that blew their multi-bet parlay than the dozens of bets they just lost completely. It's the same reason you can't forget that eBay auction you lost by $1. The emotional punch of being that close just burns the memory right into your brain. All of this really points to a much bigger mistake our brains tend to make, a cognitive blind spot that the near-miss effect loves to exploit. And it gets to the very core of how we think we can influence the world around us. See, our brains are wired to connect effort with results. It's a survival thing. If we try something and almost succeed, our brain says, hey, we're on the right track, let's keep going. The near-miss effect basically hijacks that ancient instinct and makes us see progress where there's actually just random chance. So what's the big difference here? Well, in a game of skill, like, say, basketball, if you almost make a shot, that's useful feedback, right? You adjust your aim and your effort actually helps you get better. But in a game of pure chance, like roulette, a near miss means absolutely nothing. The ball landing one slot away from your number tells you zero about the next spin. The problem is, our brain kind of treats both of those situations as real progress. And that right there is the illusion. We get that little hit of accomplishment, like we earned that near miss with some kind of special insight or strategy.
It makes us feel like we're getting better, that a real win is just around the corner, even when the outcome has been and always will be completely random. Okay, so we've seen what this thing is, how it messes with our brains, and how it's used against us. So now for the most important part. What do we do about it? How can we actually use this knowledge? Look, just knowing that the near-miss effect exists isn't going to magically make the feeling go away. That rush is a super deep biological reaction. But just being aware of it, that's the game changer. It gives you the power to see the feeling for what it is, instead of just being swept away by it.
So, when you boil it all down, what's the one thing you really need to remember the next time you find yourself just one lemon away from a jackpot?
This is it, right here. That intense feeling, that little voice in your head screaming, "Go again, you're so close." That's not your gut. It's not a sign. It is a predictable chemical reflex being triggered in your brain. The second you can step back and just label it, "Oh, hey, that's the near miss effect," you create a little bit of space. You break the spell.
And in the end, once you see the trick, once you see it's a feature, not a bug, you take back control. You're no longer just a passenger on a chemical roller coaster in your head. You get to make a real choice, fully aware of what's going on. And making a conscious choice, well, that's the real win.